In today's video, I'm going to be showing you my 5 favorite no-code projects built inside of Webflow. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Connor, and on this channel I help people who cannot code build their own online businesses with no-code tools like Webflow, Airtable, and Zapier. So in today's video, I want to share with you some no-code projects that inspired me very much throughout my process of building the Unicorn Factory and other no-code projects. And I specifically want to focus on Webflow projects that made very good use of the Webflow CMS as well as third-party tools. Now, if you've spent any time in the Webflow showcase, you already know what the caliber of workers that Webflowers all around the world are delivering. There's someone who's managed to rebuild an entire game inside of Webflow. There are heaps of websites from companies like Apple or Tesla that also have been redesigned and rebuilt using Webflow. And I've also seen sites that have made an incredible use of Webflow animations. The projects that I chose for this video though were not primarily chosen for their use of design skills or animations. I chose these projects here because they have really pushed the boundaries in terms of what you can actually do inside of Webflow. I particularly focused on the use of the Webflow CMS as well as how well people have used third-party tools to really take that Webflow project to the next level. Even using that criteria, there are countless websites that deserve to be mentioned in this video, so I decided today to focus primarily on the projects that I discovered reasonably early into me building the Unicorn Factory and that influenced or inspired me in one way or the other to build either a feature or to take the Unicorn Factory a step further. Now, I'll be definitely making more videos in the future showcasing different projects that were built with the Webflow, Airtable, and Zapier stack, so if you are currently working on a project using either of those tools, then please let me know. You can get in touch with me through my website, Twitter, you can even comment down on this video below, and I'd love to showcase that project in a future video. Now, before we get into the first point, if you haven't already, please do me a quick little favor, subscribe to the channel for more no-code content. Also, if you could quickly like this video, it would be very much appreciated. It helps spread this video through the internet, makes it easier for people to discover no-code. But without further ado, let's get into the first project. So the first project I want to showcase is goodbooks.io. So goodbooks.io is a curated list of books recommended by entrepreneurs, activists, and a whole bunch of different people from all over the world. The way it works is you can just look up different people and see what books they recommend you read. If, for example, you want to know what our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is recommending, you can just click into her profile and below you'll find a list of books that she has recommended. I love this website simply because a lot of the book recommendations that I get come from places like podcasts or blog articles. So having all of those recommendations curated on one website is a huge time saver, and it actually makes it easier for me to discover a whole bunch of other books from people that I haven't even heard of before. You can also see on this page here what the top 100 recommended books are from all of the people that I listed on the website. Another thing that you can do is if you are interested in actually reading one of the books, there are links to Amazon or Apple Books, which means that the whole process of just going and buying the book is super easy. So this project was built inside of Webflow, and it illustrates the fantastic use of the Webflow CMS as well as how you can use linked reference fields to really connect everything to each other. So you can see here you have a few different collections. For starters, we have a collection for all of the different books. Then we have a collection for all of the different people. And then we also have a collection for the book categories as well as the industries that people are a part of. The thing that I love about this is that this is just a very great way to create a whole bunch of subpages that will rank really well for specific terms like books recommended by entrepreneurs. So GoodBooks is currently listing over 8,500 books on their website, which means that this project has grown quite a bit and is already pushing the limits of the Webflow CMS. So besides the design being absolutely slick, I just think that this is a very fantastic use case. At the moment, if you want to go and find book recommendations from different people, you'll have to find them on blogs, podcasts, and they're pretty much all over the place. But being able to bring this all together into a curated list just makes the overall experience of finding your next book incredibly easy. So goodbooks.io doesn't actually use any third-party tools like JetBoost as you typically see on directory or listing pages that use search or filtering functionality. However, GoodBooks makes fantastic use of the Webflow CMS, and it actually really inspired me to relook how I structured category pages on the Unicorn Factory, and ever since implementing those changes, I started ranking for a lot of terms that attract a lot of traffic to my website, and it made a huge impact on the site. Okay, so before I move on to the next project, I wanted to make a quick shout out to the creator of goodbooks.io, Jordan Hughes. I'll link to his Twitter down below. Definitely go and give him a follow and let him know what you think about the project. But now let's move on to the next one, which is Duelito. So Duelito is an online marketplace that makes it easier for you to find and buy modular homes. So as you can see, tiny houses have kind of become the bomb over the last few years. And as you can see, it is just a directory with a whole bunch of prefab modular homes that you can basically explore and potentially buy if you're interested in that. Now, when you jump in there, you can just click onto it. You can basically fill out a form with when you want to buy the house. You can select your financing options, and then you can just go ahead and fill out all of your details. Now, this, my friends, is an incredible use case of how you can use no code to build fantastic marketplaces. Now, this website pretty much has all the key integrations that you need if you are using Webflow to build an online marketplace. For starters, it has JetBoost that has all of the filtering. You can even add a prefab home to your shortlist if you want. It even has a compare functionality that basically puts all of the prefab homes that you have saved next to each other, so that you can kind of compare the pricing and the features of the particular building. So in terms of functionality, this is as incredible as it gets. And besides it just being an incredible use case for no code, it pretty much also solves a very unique problem that you don't typically see people solve with no-code tools. So one of the things that I found really interesting about the site when I discovered it for the first time is that a lot of people at the time were building job boards, and you didn't have a lot of use cases that went very far beyond that. So then when we discovered Dwellito, it was really something that stood out. And at the time where I discovered it, it didn't even have close to all the features that it has now, which means that this has evolved quite a bit since then. Now I can already tell from the list your prefab form that they use Airtable, which means I assume that the CMS is actually fed through Airtable and is used in a very similar way to how I do it with the Unicorn Factory. And so really this is phenomenal. I mean, I don't really know what else you can really say to this. I must personally say, out of all of the no-code projects that I have seen built inside of Webflow, this for me personally is probably the most impressive one. A, from a design perspective, B, from a functionality perspective, C, from how the Webflow CMS is used, and just overall the entire thing just is absolutely fantastic. So the person who created Dwellito is this dude called Caleb Barkley. Again, I'll link to his socials down below. For me, Dwellito is the gold standard in terms of building Webflow marketplaces. I mean, some of the things that are done on that website really just show you how far you can actually push the boundaries, both from a technical perspective, but also from a creative perspective. But now let's move on to project number 3, which is MakerPad. Okay, so if you've spent any time in the no-code space, you already know of MakerPad, but what some people don't know is that MakerPad was actually created inside of Webflow. Now, I have actually seen how MakerPad was built and what it all looks like behind the scene, so I just had to mention them in this video. It's actually pretty impressive. First of all, the use of all the different tools, but more importantly, the Webflow CMS is used to store both tutorials, but it also holds things like user accounts. Now, for all of you who don't know what MakerPad is, it is an e-learning platform that just basically helps you learn how to use different no-code tools to build all sorts of different things. Now, as you can see here, we have got a bunch of tutorials, and it also has the JetBoost filtering tags, meaning that if you want to do something like a marketing and growth workflow, you can just click on it and it will automatically filter all of the different tutorials that have that particular tag attached to it. Another thing that is really cool is just all the different tools. So if you want to go and learn how to do things in Airtable or Webflow, you can also apply those filters. And besides just listing tutorials on there, they have a whole bunch of things that they call paths, which is just a series of videos that help you set up a workflow from beginning to end. So anyone just getting into no code, this is a fantastic place to really just learn different things, to really explore a whole bunch of different tools, and so I definitely recommend it. Now, just from a technical perspective, MakerPad pretty much has it all. So you have a dashboard page that is a user-only page that you can set up with MemberStack, and whenever you go and set up different tutorials or you complete different tutorials, you can basically jump into there and you can mark them as completed, and what will happen is it will then automatically add that to your list. Now, unfortunately, I haven't completed that many tutorials if I'm honest, but just imagine that if you go through this process of learning different tools, you'll be able able to just track your process in here. And that, again, from a technical perspective, is something that you can do with tools like MemberStack and JetBoost, but it is technically quite difficult. So it's quite impressive how it has been set up inside of MemberStack. Now, MemberStack also has a job board, but the job board is not created with the Webflow, Airtable, and Zapier stack. It uses a third-party tool called Palette that I've seen pop up quite a bit. Again, what you can do is you can actually just find jobs. I don't know that much about Palette, so I can't go into how difficult it is from a technical perspective, but the MakerPad people pretty much know all the tools, so if they're using it, it's probably pretty good. So when it comes to building an e-learning platform, really, MakerPad pretty much has it all. It's got a lot of different pages, it's got a lot of different CMS collections, and it has got way too many CMS items to count. So if you are just looking at pushing the boundaries in terms of having lots of different content on there, then really MakerPad is probably the one that has pushed it the furthest. So one thing that I can unfortunately not show you, but is probably one of the most impressive things about MakerPad, is their use of Zapier. So they have some pretty wild workflows, and from what I remember, most of the things that they have on the website is automated, and I can tell you from just a difficulty perspective, the stuff that they have managed to set up in Zapier is probably as difficult as it gets. So MakerPad was started by Ben Tossell, and he is also probably the person that has set up most workflows. I'm pretty sure there have been other people that have helped him out along the way quite a bit, but I have seen him work in it, so you know, the person who is teaching you all this stuff really knows what he's talking about. But now it's time to move on to the fourth project, which is called Chivecharities. So Chivecharities is a marketplace in New Zealand that makes it easier for people in New Zealand to find niche charities. So you can go onto the website and you can then just go and see all of these different charities that are sometimes pretty small charities, sometimes pretty big charities, but the whole point of it is to make it easier for you to find causes that you want to support. So in here they have the JetBoost setups, the filtering, so you can just go ahead and filter out all of the charities that support a specific beneficiary. They also have JetBoost search, and then you have all of your standard category pages and location pages. So Chivecharities was created by two friends of mine, and the reason why I wanted to mention this particular project is because I worked with them, and when they started working on Chive, they actually didn't know much about no code at all. So they've pretty much learned how to build and manage a site like this over the last 6 to 7 months. Now, the way that it works and the purpose that it solves is pretty easy. As soon as you find a charity that you want to support, you can either go ahead and follow them, or you can actually just donate to them. So yeah, the main thing that I really love about this site is that, first of all, it's a fantastic use case, and it shows how you can use no code to actually do some very fantastic things, and helping smaller charities get the necessary exposure without having to spend thousands and thousands on marketing. It's just an incredibly useful way to be useful in your community. So I'm not entirely sure how many charities they have on there at the moment, but last I checked, they are well beyond the hundreds of charities on there, and they get a whole bunch of people visiting the website every single day. So it has been really good. Ever since they've started up, they've really managed to help a lot of these charities be discovered. And so here's a fantastic example of how you can learn how to use these tools to then basically go and help out people in your community. So like I said, Chive was created by two friends of mine, Stephen and Alice. They're both from New Zealand. They both come from the social entrepreneurship space. The entire platform is built with the same tools that I used to build the Unicorn Factory. So they have Webflow, Airtable, Zapier, and MemberStack. Ever since we started working together, they've also started adding a whole bunch of other tools like Typeform and the like. So they've really taken things to the next level. So while we're on the topic, I may as well plug my online coaching program called the MVMP program. If you have watched the first few use cases and you thought, you know what, I have an idea for an online marketplace or a directory or a listing site, and you just don't know where to start, then I can help you. So the whole idea behind the MVMP program is to really fast track you through the process of learning all of the key tools that you need to learn in order to set up an online marketplace like the Unicorn Factory or Chive. So you'll learn things like how to design and build a site in Webflow, you'll learn how to set up databases in Airtable, you'll learn how to set up workflows and tools like Zapier, and you'll also learn to use a whole bunch of other third-party tools like MemberStack and Integromat and whatever else is out there. Now, you don't need to be incredibly experienced with any of those tools before we start working together. The way it works is when you sign up, I'll actually send you a template inside of Webflow, which is basically a white labeled version of the Unicorn Factory Canada, which you can change to fit whatever design and brand you want. And then from there, I also have a whole bunch of videos that you can watch in your own time where I take you through all of the different processes of setting up different workflows, setting up your database, and all that fun stuff. I can also offer you some one-on-one coaching as well if you need a little bit of extra support. However, if you've watched any of my tutorials before and you kind of got a good idea of how everything works and you just need it all in order, then the DIY course will be completely fine. If you're interested in checking it out, I'll leave a link in the description down below and also in the comment section. And if you want to go ahead with it, just schedule a 15-minute call with me and I'll talk about the feasibility of your project. But now let's jump into the final project, which is Webflow Experts. Okay, so this is the final tool that I must say had a huge impact on the direction that I wanted to end up taking with the Unicorn Factory. Obviously, I have a freelancer directory. Webflow Experts is kind of like an experts directory, and I read a blog post on how they created Webflow Experts, and that really inspired me to set up the first few things for the Unicorn Factory. So the design of the site has changed quite a bit since I discovered it or found it the first time. And basically what you can do on Webflow Experts is find Webflow experts and you can get in touch with them and basically hire them to do work for you. So I mean, like everything that Webflow does, the design of the site is completely slick. The way it works is very similar to the Unicorn Factory. You just fill out your name, your email address, and then all of the leads automatically get forwarded on to that particular expert. So the blog post that I read basically talked about how they set up the first version of Webflow Experts, and they used the Webflow CMS as well as Zapier to basically automate the workflow that automatically forwarded on all of the leads to the different freelancers or experts. When I read that blog post, that was really a moment where I started to realize what the potential is of actually combining all of the different tools together. And that was also what kind of set the foundation for the Unicorn Factory. So before I started doing things like the onboarding process or the, adding case study workflows, the main thing that I did was just forwarding leads on to the different freelancers that were on the site, and everything else was kind of done manually. And I must say that Webflow Experts did have a huge influence on me in terms of what I saw was possible with these tools, and so they definitely deserve a mention. So I believe that even today, the main tools that they use for this is Webflow and the Webflow CMS, as well as Zapier to store, automate all of the lead flows. I'm not sure if they use Zapier for anything else. I also don't believe that they are using Airtable, but just given the size of their overall directory, they don't have hundreds and thousands of people on the site, meaning that you could probably get away with doing it inside of the Webflow CMS quite easily. Now, one thing that they do have is they have JetBoost integrated, because you know what, why not? When you have a directory and a listing page and you just want to make it easier for people to find the right people faster, then using something like this is just the way to go. So yes, Webflow Experts is always going to have a soft spot in my heart as the platform that was created in no code that really sparked the ideas for creating the Unicorn Factory. I also must just give them a shout out for the fact that at the time they were really transparent with how they built it. They did write a blog post about it that if I find, I'll link down below, and it really set the foundations for what is now the Unicorn Factory. And so that is it. Those are my 5 top no-code projects that were created inside of Webflow that really showed me what was possible with no-code tools. It really allowed me and others to see how far you could actually push the boundaries of these tools, especially at a time where there are not a lot of people doing super fancy stuff. Nowadays, there are a whole bunch of different use cases that really take things even further than what I just showed you. I'll definitely be making a video about that in the future, so if you are working on something and you want me to review it, check it out and mention it in one of these videos, then just remember to get in touch with me. I always look forward to meeting people who are working with the Airtable, Webflow and Zapier stack. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you back here for the next one.